Hey, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Real Science with Chris Neal. Today, we're going to talk about overtraining. Is overtraining a real thing? Can it actually happen? Am I overtraining? What do I do if I am overtraining? I want to avoid that. Should I avoid that? Should I continuously just push through? How does it all work and what does it all look like from a real science standpoint? Stay tuned, like it, subscribe if you are enjoying the content, and let's hit it off. Okay, so to get started, overtraining is basically something that happens when you are pushing yourself too hard with your activity to the point where you're actually taking a step backwards instead of taking a step forwards in whatever your goals are. So that's the basic definition of overtraining. So let's dig into the nitty-gritty as to how that works from a scientific level. First off, we have to take a big step back to even think about what we're training for. What are your actual goals? So if we keep the goals in mind as to what we're trying to do, then that basically sets the stage for everything. So I've had people tell me from different times or different stages of my life when I'm working out or working for a certain purpose, oh man, you're working out. It looks like you're working out really hard. You're probably overtraining. And then part of me, from a joking standpoint, I can be very competitive and I can be very intense with myself. So I sarcastically will kick back. This might be overtraining for you, but it might not be overtraining for me. But you should always check yourself before you just jump out and say that to someone. So first, if we're looking at what are our goals for the training in the first place, let's say our goals are pretty standard: to put on muscle and to lose fat. A lot of people want that. It's just a very common thing that I see in my clinic. What is overtraining? Well, now we have to break it down to the individual. There are many factors that go into an optimal bullseye for putting on muscle and burning fat. So that's the trick of everything that I do when it comes to performance. It's to fine-tune all of the variables to make sure you are getting the most out of everything you're doing. And that's going to be different at different ages, at different hormone balances, at different times in your life. There's a lot of things that can throw that off. It's not just about working out and how much you work out and how many pounds you're lifting and what your macros look like. Yes, all of those things are very important, but there's a much deeper level of detail that goes into figuring all of that out. And so let's cover all of the extraneous stuff first. Are you stressed? Stress has a huge impact on your ability to perform optimally. So the opposite of performing optimally is overtraining or taking a step backwards. If we understand what overtraining is and we understand what undertraining is, then we begin to see the bullseye and how to get there. The extraneous things, let's first talk about that. Stress, like I said. Stress, cortisol, it has a huge hormonal cascade into your ability to, how your body's metabolism works with fat, how it utilizes carbs, what it does with carbs, its ability to repair and regenerate and fix things. It's important to know all of that because big picture, you don't really build muscle in the gym. People say that all the time. Oh, I'm bodybuilding, I'm lifting weights, I'm putting on muscle. That really doesn't happen in the gym, actually. From a scientific standpoint, when you're in the gym, picking up heavy things and putting them back down again, what you're actually doing, you're tearing muscle. You're breaking down muscle fibers, actually, and in order to build them up again stronger. That's what weightlifting actually is from a scientific standpoint. So really, in the gym, you're not really building muscle. You build muscle once you leave the gym until you get back in the gym again. But that's the routine. So if we understand that, then we need to put a lot of our focus into the recovery aspect. The harder you break down your muscle in the gym, the more you're going to have to build up. If that's done effectively, then by the time you get back to your next workout of the same body part, you're ready to go and break down just as hard. And that's basically the framework of all of this. And now what does that look like? Does that mean that I can only do 4 sets of 12 and I can't do 6 sets of 12? There's a lot of detail that goes into that too. But I digress a little bit. Let me get back to the extraneous stuff. So stress is a huge impactor. And there's a lot of ways to regulate that. One of my favorite things to do that might seem really simple, but it actually plays a big part is to check yourself throughout the day. Check yourself throughout the day and be able to regulate your own stress level and see how things are building up throughout your day. And if you need to, go on vacation. Just take yourself on vacation. And I know that sounds silly, but really what you can do, you can take your phone, you can hop on YouTube or wherever and search tropical paradise with music. Search something like that, or mountain view or something like that. And just sit down. If you have to go to the bathroom, if you have to go sit in your car or go wherever, it doesn't matter. Sit down somewhere quiet where you know no one's going to mess with you for 5 minutes. And sit there and just stare at your screen and listen to the music. It's usually a very calming tune that just plays over and over again, an instrumental, whatever. But just sit there and let your brain soak into that. And as you do that, what you're going to find is that after 5 minutes, you're going to feel a little bit more recharged. So if you have to do that 3 times a day, as far as your brain's concerned, you're on vacation. So if you have to do that 3 times a day to recharge your brain, that actually does decrease your cortisol levels, which in turn help you become more productive in the gym and more productive with your recovery towards getting to your goals. Also towards building fat too. If your body is constantly in a fight or flight state, your fight or flight, your body really will be more likely to save calories rather than spend them. Very important. So that's the stress part. Other factors that are really important is your sleep. You gotta have really good effective sleep. If you're only sleeping 4 hours a week, I guarantee you will not be able to work out or push your body into that bullseye of intensity. And you also will not be able to recover from that as well as you would be otherwise. So you're much more likely to be overtraining off the same workout if you're only getting 4 hours of sleep. So that's a big deal. And also making sure you're getting effective sleep. And something that's always important, especially more for guys, also women can get this too, but a lot of guys have this, is sleep apnea. If you have sleep apnea, that's a condition where you're not getting enough oxygen into your airway at nighttime. Part of your soft palate, sometimes your tongue can fall back and close off your windpipe, and it ends up with this rattling sound, which is snoring basically. And even to the point where you just stop breathing altogether for long periods of time. At night, if you're not getting good oxygen, you might as well just be taking your 2 hands and choking yourself. And can you recover very well while you're being choked all night? No, you can't. Getting that taken care of. There are CPAP machines that are out there that help force air in to make sure that you get a good amount of oxygen through the night. Also, there are surgeries too that are available. I had surgery. I was on a CPAP machine for 2 years, actually, until I ultimately had a surgery done to have that fixed. But one of the best things I've ever done, by the way. It's huge performance-wise. It really made a huge difference. Definitely get that checked out. That's not something you want to let go. If you have 2 guys doing the exact same workout and one guy has uncontrolled sleep apnea, meaning they're not doing anything for it, then he's much more likely to be overtraining off the exact same workout than the next guy standing next to him. So that's a big factor also. And other extraneous things, alcohol. A lot of people don't think about this, but having a glass of wine or a highball of like whiskey or bourbon or something every now and then is not a big deal. Your body can handle that pretty well. But if you're doing that on a regular basis in excess of 2, 3 every night and more, then there's a lot of changes that happen to the body when you have that much alcohol in your system consistently. And your body is not going to be in an optimal state for practically anything with that on board. So you're much more likely to be overtraining off the exact same workout. Okay, so those things are just standards that just have to be cleaned up. Now, going towards some of the big things, diet, obviously, that's a big factor. If you're in too much of a deficit and you try and do the exact same workout as someone else that is not in a deficit, you're most likely going to be the one overtraining, not the next guy, off to the exact same workout. Also, doing diets that put a lot of metabolic stress on your system while you're trying to work out, like the keto diet, for example, intermittent fasting. Those are things that are not natural to your system, yes, they can be helpful at certain times for certain things. So I'm not completely knocking it before I get the keto wave coming to attack me. There are some benefits to them, but what I'm talking about here today is overtraining. Getting on a keto diet or intermittent fasting, if you take two people and one of them is doing one of those types of diets and the other person is not, those diets will definitely lead you closer towards overtraining off the exact same workout, period. So making sure your diet is consistent and regular. If you're overeating, and this is a big one, especially going into bulking season, if you are overeating, a lot of things happen inside your body when it comes to overeating, and it can take away from a lot of your workout, depending on what your goals are. And again, everything has to be centered around your goals. Depending on what your goals are, you have to watch how much food you're taking in, because that can also set up a chain reaction of sluggishness. Like, how do you feel after Thanksgiving dinner? And nobody wants to work out. Everybody's sluggish and tired or whatever. Think about a Thanksgiving meal, 4 meals a day. Yeah, it puts your body in this routine, and it does not lend itself towards performance by any stretch. So that's one. Now, when it comes to the workout itself, okay, the purpose of a workout is to get maximum impact and stimulation to your body to grow. There are different theories behind that, and the reason why there are different theories is because people are different. How we respond to things are different. There's volume training. There's different types of training that focuses on maximum stretch and then maximum contractility. There are a lot of different methods of getting the strength training in. So trying to find the one that best suits you and pushing it hard, and then also pushing it on a regular basis. So the regularity or the frequency of your workout could lend itself towards overtraining. So I'm one of those guys that I like to work out every day that ends in Y. Pretty much, like, that's my schedule for the most part. Occasionally I aim for that, and occasionally I miss a day. But is that overtraining just by nature? No, it's not. I'm doing different body parts, and I know my body is tuned in enough that I can work out the same body part pretty hard twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week for a month. And then but I rotate a lot. I do a lot of rotation of stuff. But I had a patient come and ask me. They said that their medical practitioner told them that they read in some research study somewhere that women that are of menstruating age should not be working out more than 3 days a week, because it's just not good for them. And that I totally flipped out over. That's just ridiculous. But it depends on your goals too. If you have goals of wanting to lose weight, wanting to put on muscle, and maximum performance in doing so, your body can tolerate and can handle a lot more than you give it credit for. So you'll never know what that level is until you push it. That's the point. Push it in a safe way. I'm not advocating that you hurt yourself or just go blindly into it, but always listen to your body. Definitely push yourself. When I push myself in the gym, as far as the weights are concerned, strength training, I prefer to pyramid all of my workouts. So if I'm going to sit down and do a set of seated tricep extensions, I'm going to start at a weight much lower than I know my maximum weight is, usually half or even less than half of of what my maximum like 6 rep max is. And I'll start there, and then I'll increase, and I'll peak at some point, and then I'll start going down. And I've just been doing that more and more as I've gotten older, because it helps for my form, for me to maintain proper form. And also it helps for my joints to get accustomed to that form, pushing that kind of weight in that direction. And it works for me. And sometimes I'll do higher reps, and then sometimes I'll do lower reps, or I'll alternate. There's a lot of different methods of things that you can do. One of the other nice tricks I have as far as the exercising goes is that if I am going to be doing twice a week, say like biceps, and I plan my week out, I'll do heavy biceps on one day, and then the next day I'll do high rep biceps. So I do like to alternate and switch things up a lot, but that's just me. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but you can still push yourself. if you just stay smart with it and avoid injury, because none of it matters if you hurt yourself and you can't work out that body part for 8 weeks. Like, you didn't do yourself any favors, you know? So keeping all of this in perspective, hopefully it's helpful. The last and final thing is going to be your body chemistry. If I were to take myself, just two versions of myself, one that is optimized and one that is off all of my optimization and hormone balancing, and put them side by side, doing the exact same workout, oh my God, like, I will be overtraining. And that would be a fully legitimate thing to say. I will be overtraining for the other guy that's not optimized. Like, your tolerance and your ability, mostly in your ability to recover, your anabolic character. If you don't have that because your hormones are off and you're not optimized, then essentially you're wasting your time, or you're just torturing yourself by pushing yourself that hard. That you're not really going to get as much out of it. You have to go much more gentle. Optimizing those things is key. If you look at the extent of where that leads to, I do a lot of medical management for professional bodybuilders. I live in the, maximizing the 3%. So going from 97% to 99.5%, like, that's my world, and for a lot of my patients. So when you're there, like, everything has to be tight. Like, everything has to be on point. And when it comes to a lot of these medications too, it's important to understand that more is not always better. But what we want maximum anabolic character. We want just the right amount of nutrition and calories, the right types and macros, in order to support the regeneration and recovery. And then we have to have an intense, just the right amount and the right type of stimulation. That's your activity. That's your workouts. We have to have the right type of stimulation and activity in order to make the whole circle come through. And that's how we do it. That's the big 50,000 foot view as to how we maximize those things from a professional level. But I hope you can take some of these tips and tricks that we use on our athletes, and you can employ them in your regular day-to-day life. So if you have any questions, hit us up at our clinic. And thank you very much for all of your support. Like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, please hit me up in the comments below. Thanks a lot. Stay healthy.